With Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on social media in general, including the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, or any of the other many social pages that we're now doing this whole gig on, which includes Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just for a little bit of variety there. Recent events have made it very apparent that being in many places at once is absolutely a good thing and something we will continue to do. And at the same time, want to be where y'all are. So if you have a preferred way or another method that allows live streaming, let us know, because we'd be happy to do it on there. But so you can find it again, Talk El Paso Facebook page, also the Andrew J. Polk page, as well as Talk El Paso on YouTube and on Twitter, and Andrew J. Polk on Twitch and Twitter as well. So a lot of ways to get involved with us, but of course we'll be on air, be taking those calls a little bit later in the hour, as we usually do, as we get to the second day of the week here, and a lot of stuff going on again today. We have got a whole bunch, including some border visits and discussion over what should happen with future incidents on the border, as well as one of the big ones coming in about state entity mandate, vaccination mandate bans, plus changes to dialing, and maybe a glimpse at our future destiny as a community on the cusp of, state-level legalized marijuana anyway. So to break that all down as much as we can and more, are going to be joined right now by Chris Babcock with KTSM TV. Chris, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me back, Andrew. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. We missed you yesterday in setting up the week, but it's been a lot been happening in the meantime here. So let's get to that one that kind of broke. It's my personal conspiracy theory that big things either happened right before or immediately after this show here. And this one kind of bore out. It was inundated by the alerts and emails and stuff like that right after our program yesterday, that the governor had signed an executive order, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, banning any entity from having a vaccine mandate, which goes much further than he had previously on such things as mask mandates, barring public entities, but this would include any organization, including private employers.
Yeah, I think I saw something earlier today where it's that if he's running against anybody for the 2022 governor's seat, it's COVID, because he's running really hard against doing anything about it. And this one was just another one that people were thinking, all right, so no vaccine mandates, no mask mandates, just do it all yourself. So again, more of the moves for his hard right base, but again, it's going to have repercussions in both the business and the legal realms again. And I think you'll see this challenged quite quickly.
Absolutely. As we heard in the top of the hour update there already, the White House talking about that, because it does go, any casual observer could tell it goes very contrary to what was coming out of that level, and including, of course, that executive branch and very much more what's going on for the whole OSHA regulations for those employers of hundreds of more, though not quite about taking out all of that, because the part that does keep getting lost in this, and maybe it's splitting hairs, but the whole either vaccinated or weekly tested, many people aren't talking about the whole weekly tested part, because to be fair, a lot of organizations and particularly employers were saying that we're not going to do that. It's either we're going to have a vaccine requirement on there. So it may get lost a little bit, but maybe not totally unjustly. But this, again, going much further than the previous things he's does. And I've said it previously, most things being done by the governor right now, even if unintentional, can be seen through the lens of his upcoming reelection, because ever since he's got some of the challenges coming out, it has been a discernibly different pattern of behavior, even as when he was making this announcement in the releases here, still saying that the vaccine is the best tool to curb and mitigate the impacts of the pandemic, which to some people may seem a little bit oxymoronic of a statement.
Well, again, he's making the statement at the same time he's saying that employers can't mandate it. He's clearly running a two-pronged race. One of them is here in the state, and the other one is against the federal government. And I think he's setting himself up quite nicely, honestly, to argue for. And again, we've had the history here in Texas of the Republic of Texas, and then just being on our own. He's standing up to the bullying of the government, especially given the position of many Republicans that the president really didn't win the election. So he's taking it in a different direction. He's going to fight. If President Biden came out saying that the sky was blue, I would not put it past the governor of the state to say no, it's not. It's off blue. So it's going to be one of these really drawn out arguments, and again, unfortunately, it's going to take up a lot of taxpayer dollars once again.
Particularly when it comes to those legal fights, absolutely, that's pretty transparent there. That's going to be a part of it here. So we got already good comments coming in about this that we'll absolutely get to. But so that's one of the major things going on today. Kind of on another prong of that whole approach here, we had Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton visiting that Del Rio area that we were talking about a lot a couple of weeks ago, both kind of positioning it as a kind of wrap up lessons learned kind of trip, I guess would be the way to put it, both talking to local law enforcement and the local federal law enforcement positioned there, and asking for more resources, a plan for the administration, which has been very much demanded. But one interesting thing that came out of that, to my notice, was the talk about Texas National Guard, and including even the Texas military, that different department there, that was putting up temporary barriers, I believe 7 to 9 foot wire fences in certain areas, including that Del Rio area.
Yeah, and this is the precursor to the fence/wall that the governor is looking to put up. He's made it quite clear he feels the government has abdicated their duty to protect the Texas border with Mexico. So he's going full forward with it. That was part of the visit today, to thank the men and women that are down there, doing their jobs, and then to actually take a look and see how that is done. Now, of course, we're not going to see, at least not at that particular point of the border, a repeat of the Haitian crisis from a couple of weeks ago. You will see it elsewhere because as they fortify one area, they're going to go to the next. And, I don't know how close we're going to get to El Paso, but, there's not too many places you can go. You either come east or you come west, and then you try and make those difficult journeys. But, again, a very clear-cut message that they will do what's necessary to protect the state of Texas in their own eyes.
Very important note that also being made there is some of that reporting that we have some of the landowners in and around those areas and local government as well, volunteering or even donating the land and space in some cases for at least this temporary erection of barriers, and announcing that this would be done additionally in other areas, kind of maybe proactive, but more seemingly on an on-demand basis, and this being specifically used by funds appropriated by the state, this not coming out of that for lack of a better term, the GoFundMe that the governor has set up in order to fund general border wall construction. So that's specifically how this will be going forward. So we'll see how responsive it can be, because it was interesting to see the governor actually did receive some criticism as to the delayed response to this, even as he was decrying it, the actual action of it. Saw even some local movers and shakers within the conservative movement giving a little bit of criticism of it, which was, I guess, not totally expected on my point here, but I mean, at a certain point, it makes sense.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about this odd division where a lot of the people to his right feel like he's done too much, and that's why they're running against him in the upcoming the runoff election, not the runoff election, the first election,
primary. Yes,
I'm running out of words. Yeah, exactly. But it's bound to just show how, even within the Republican Party, how it's a little bit fractured, even though a lot of people think that the governor has really gone to town and done things that no other governor has done. To his right, there's still people who think that he's done too much. So it's an interesting political test here for him.
It absolutely is. We've, again, visited with most of the major candidates. I'm sure there's one or two we've missed that are described as maybe not major there, including Alan West and Don Huffines, if you want to find them over the main Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Two more things I want to touch before we lose you here, Chris. One is that there's been the announcement of a change coming to how we dial numbers around here, and that will affect how people can, among other things, call into this show here. We're going from that 7-digit to that 10-digit dialing here, probably in just a space of a few months, I think.
Yeah, you got to add the 915 now.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming into the 20th century here in El Paso, and we're not the only ones. There's several other area codes that are going to do it. So you got to dial those first three numbers, the next three, and the last four. And we were talking about it here in the newsroom. I can remember growing up where we only had to dial the last four numbers to dial a number up in between Fabens and Thordino, because we all had the same exchange. So you just dialed four numbers, you were able to do it. When you had to dial the exchange, the three numbers, oh man, people lost their minds, but that's because we had rotary phones. But I digress. It's you would think that with the technology they'd be able to recognize the numbers, but here's another issue of the technology taking us forward and the rules taking a little bit to catch up.
Absolutely. I think we have some people in the area start chiming in here and having some interesting discussions over there. So, hey, we're on multiple places on social media. So if you want to tune in and chime in there. And one last thing, bug I want to put from in your ear, Chris, that there's an interesting bit of reporting coming out about what could be maybe slightly described as the destiny of our area, specifically focusing on the Raton and just north of that area in Trinidad in Colorado. So right there on the Colorado-New Mexico border, the kind of an analysis of its situation after the Colorado state-level legalization of marijuana, and then not in New Mexico, and of course, what's coming next and what we're going to be seeing in our area.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be one of those spillover areas where you're going to see there are going to be more positives than the negatives, at least budget-wise. And people will look at that and say, okay, here comes the next wave. And, with New Mexico moving in that direction, how long will it be before Texas moves into that same direction? I don't know that there's enough political capital there that people are going to want to spend on the legalization of small amounts of pot here in Texas, considering the other fights that are pending. But it does show, I think there's a bit of an air of inevitability about it, and it's either going to be sooner or later. So it's coming.
Potentially. We'll talk more about that here in the coming second. Again, Chris right now has been Chris Babcock with a KTSM TV talking about some of the big stories coming out this week. So we'll get into more about particularly that last story, but I think you're right. A lot of political air being taken out of the room on a whole lot of other subjects, but we've been surprised before, so we'll see there. So thanks, Chris, for joining us as you do most starts of the week here to set up some of the big stories.
All righty. Y'all have a good week.
I appreciate it. All right, so like I said, got to do that and talk more about that after the break here. We'll be coming back and talk more about that and then getting into your comments and calls here. Again, streaming a lot of places with some interesting discussion going on here. But we'll get to all that and more after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Whatever substances we may be talking about, something that I always turn to regardless of what others may be doing is, a little bit of energy in the afternoon, but also a little bit of an immunity boost. We're feeling those fall winds, fall temperatures going around here, and traditionally this would be a time when people might be wondering about getting other diseases, even if situations are different, but it's never a bad time to focus on your health and immunity. And so something I turn to both for those benefits and more, and just the energy boost for the afternoon, is Clever Tea, KLEVRTEA, the stuff that you drink. Their oolong wise blend of infused oolong tea has a decent kick to it that doesn't leave you feeling jittery, and comes with a great blend of coconut, pineapple, hibiscus, eucalyptus, hawthorn berry, and cinnamon. And, well, can really get you through your day and beyond, help you get to whatever your goals may be. And that's not the only one they got in the works here, so you're going to want to follow them on social media as well. Again, Clever Tea, KLEVRTEA. You can find them online, also at clevertea.com, or in a bunch of different ways, including at local stores, including Brown Street Market, CBD Vita, Upper Valley Mercantile, Muscle Confusion / House of Hoops, and Cooking Time. Or again, online, clevertea.com. That's clevertea.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch out for abnormal congestion on Interstate 110 from the 54 to Juarez Port of Entry. Also, there's some stop-and-go traffic on the 54 southbound between Montana Avenue and the 10. And look out for an accident that could cause some delays on Delta Drive just east of Valverde Street. And look out for some construction on Gateway Boulevard eastbound between Piedras and Paisano Drive. I'm Marie Jourdain with traffic.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
What if everything you knew about your best friend was wrong? Like really wrong?
My best friend is an international con artist who scams me and many others out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
On Queen of the Con, Jonathan Walton tells the shocking story of the phony Irish heiress he helped bring to justice.
She seemed so nice when we first met, but she's the devil.
Listen to Queen of the Con on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, board-certified vascular interventionalist, with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
All right, let's introduce you to thetrustedlab.com. It's Teresa, and people are always asking what products I use. They want good recommendations. Thetrustedlab.com have products for everyone. And it's a Texas company, lab-tested CBD, and made in America. So it's a no-brainer. This product is the best. I use their CBD to sleep better and just to worry less in life. And I notice I've been in a better mood, which I'm just figuring out. They've got fast shipping delivery right to your front door and a great online quiz to guide you to the perfect product. Right now, thetrustedlab.com.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
It's important to know what's going on, especially around the world.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Again, thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show. Of course, we got phone line, which we're getting to here a little bit later in the segment, as we usually do. But we've also got the social media pages, which we got some of our first comments in coming from Twitch, which is a pleasant surprise. So it's kind of just a backup at the moment. But, hey, if people are finding us there, we're not going to say no to it, even if there's, let's just say, interesting discussion going on there. As we have, I'm not even going to be able to try to pronounce that name. It's up on screen asking, tell them to finish construction on Mesa. It's supposedly coming, but it's been coming for a long time now. That's undoubted. The major problem now is those spaces in between the main lanes, the turn lanes, and are the ones that are kind of like the shoulders are bad, and that's where you're having the real problems right now. So that was again interesting comments coming in there. Well, we'll take them all along, particularly as we get a little bit later in the show here, because I really wanted to focus a bit more on that whole story that's coming out here, reported in a few different places. The Trinidad and Raton story from the also appearing in El Paso, but specifically going around from the Puente News Collective here. Sarah Sanchez writing that one about the story of these two border communities, border of New Mexico and Colorado specifically, because even though New Mexico is now on the cusp of full state level, important to designate their legalization, they are now in the area where you can now grow your own and have certain levels of possession. So it's kind of been this whole rolling process, but commercial, the thing that really matters to, well, people particularly on this side of the state border, but also for other people coming in from other areas. That's going to be when the rubber really hits the road, even as it's been kind of not exactly gradual rolling, I guess might be the best way to describe it, process going on there. And it's what we're going to be facing once we come April, because already been some concern, already been some items going back and forth, smaller things, real piecemeal kind of stuff, nothing huge just yet about how enforcement will go. There's been small items that we may have mentioned or we may have just seen go by about testing facilities and stuff like that, kind of on, again, this side of the state border in preparation of that, of which, again, a lot of issues potentially coming with it. So that's why it makes this article very interesting. So I definitely want you to encourage you to look it up. We'll post it over on some of our pages as well, because it's a worthwhile read to see completely different situations. These were small mining towns and not exactly what our situation is when it comes to, again, preparation for this, but how they were dealing with it. Trinidad on the Colorado side had seen a mild renaissance as potentially a improvements of, people coming there doing some of the tourism, even though again, an important factor is that it is still federally illegal, which means that if you're taking it across state lines, that's technically a felony. So, I mean, discretion, and it gives us a little bit more significant, absolutely, once we start getting down here with our nice Border Patrol checkpoints that have been tripping up celebrities ever since they were established, practically. I mean, there's whole listicle articles out there about people who've been arrested either at the airport or at those checkpoints, either on Sierra Blanca or, in between here in Alamogordo, that kind of thing. Fun stuff, right? And that's one wrinkle in it. But really, the interesting part is just how communities can interact. And one real striking part from the article that gets to me is the fact that El Paso will be the last stop headed westward on I-10 before you hit, now at that point, as of April next year, 3 marijuana legalized states: New Mexico, Arizona, and California. I mean, basically everything till you hit the West Coast at that point. And so that then leaves the question for me, because sure, Las Cruces has some capabilities. It's got an airport there that does primarily regional flights and things. That's where I did my B-25 flight the other day. But El Paso is going to be the major transportation hub, so I'll be very, very curious to see what kind of business impacts that will have in terms of tourism, in terms of changes to how people are going to be moving through here, coming through, being a stepping stone for going to be tours starting that way, and how all of that's going to be reconciled with the legal ramifications and justifications. Again, like Chris said, I really, really do not expect that there's going to be much difference in the Texas side of things. We got a major set of elections coming up here, and I mean, stranger things have happened for an issue like that, starting to shoehorn in, particularly once we get into April, notably, I believe, just after the primaries, but maybe not after primary runoffs, when we can start seeing that be the impact. But I would expect it to come up maybe a little bit more at that point, and then the general elections of 2022, which we're, a little less than a year out from, well, a little over a year out from now at this point. So those are going to be some of the things, at least playing on my mind, as we see this. So again, we'll post up that link here probably during this break, as I can type it up and put it on all of our pages, about how we can at least look at some of the models, again, on a very much smaller scale. We're talking about, I believe, a combined population of those two towns of about 12,000. So not the hugest kind of, heck, that's not even a tenth of the population of Las Cruces these days, much less the whole borderplex north of the Mexico border area we're dealing with here. But still, just some of the currents going into it, you can at least be learned from and see how it might apply to our situation. So if you want to comment on that, we got a lot of comments going into a lot of our conversation here, and some people mad at me for talking about this. I mean, good luck with that. Because if you don't think that this is going to affect us going forward, I got bad news for you. It absolutely is, and it's going to be something that we're going to have to deal with on here. So we'll go ahead and get into some of these comments here, as we got a bunch of them coming in from a few of the different social pages here. And interesting questions, including when can we see more ramen shops opening near Westtown? Do you know anyone trying to open one? That would be an interesting one. We got at least one out there. I know that the one that across the street here from our station had an unfortunate fire going on to it. But some of the other comments going on here, again, Lupinato, where's your head at, my man? Saying that you don't want to talk about this, but I mean, this is what we do on this show. So, I mean, good luck with it. And but Leroy tried to bring in why even care about this when there's about every other narcotic flooding into our state here. I mean, there's an argument to be made that we got bigger fish to fry here. Absolutely. So we'll get some more of those comments and more coming up after the break, but we'll also be opening up that phone line. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot to talk about here. A lot of big issues we'll certainly be continuing to break down and get into, but again, join the conversation however you feel comfortable doing it, either on air, online, or through the social media here. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Whatever's happening in the news, and even with these maybe public health concerns, it's important to know where to go for your own health concerns. And one of the best resources that, well, I trust anyway, and have gone to when we have had those minor medical emergencies, is Doc Carpenter and his team over at the Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. Because these things, if they were planned, they wouldn't be minor medical emergencies now, would they? They'd be routine checkups and things like that. But so these things don't happen when they're convenient. So you need to know where to go. And that's why they have no appointment needed walk-ins 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So we got those weekends, we've got those nights, we've got those holidays. Because, yeah, if you need it, there's no, well, okay, let's squeeze that in. I'll book you for a 12:30 next Tuesday. No, that doesn't work. So you got to go there when you need to. So they've got everything from testing, vaccines, everything up to x-ray capabilities. And again, fast and friendly, 5-star medical treatment. Find them at, again, 121 East Red Road. Again, just west of I-10. Can find them pretty easily from whatever side of town you're coming from. And they'll get you what you need when you need it. Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Hello, I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update. Doña Ana County Commissioners approved a plan to allocate funds to help the residents in La Union, New Mexico after the flooding during the summer. The funds are from the state, and the county commissioners decided on a plan today on how to use that money. The commissioners said they will use the funds to buy the homes and properties that were destroyed. The commissioners voted in favor to approve the plan. The homes and properties that will be bought will then be demolished and retained by the county. Commissioners say they will focus more on Mendez Street, which was a street that was severely affected by the storms and floods. The property will then be used for flood control in the future. The state now has to approve the county commissioner's plan before it can be implemented. And the city of El Paso will acquire the 2.5-acre El Paso Times building on Mill Street downtown. The building was put on the market because the El Paso Times is moving its operation to Juarez. I'm Erica Castillo with this KFOX 14 News Update.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Watch out for some heavy traffic on the 10 westbound between Mesa and Thorne Avenue. Also, there's still some slow-moving traffic on Paisano Drive northbound between Boone and Kansas Street. And look out for an accident on Delta Drive just east of Valverde. And on Gateway Boulevard eastbound between Copia Street and Reynolds is closed due to road work. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Well, our next weather maker is swinging through, and that's the whole reason for our strong winds, our wind advisory, and the blowing dust. Good news, though, is after sunset, we should start to get those winds gradually decreasing, and overnight, they should be a lot lighter. We won't see another round of winds for a couple of days, but we will see the return of cooler temperatures.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use.
Big interview. You check your suit, your resume, your palms.
But wait, did you check your breath? Get SmartMouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day. Find SmartMouth in the mouthwash aisle at Dollar General or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. These days, it's important to know where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. The go-to for my family is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center for any minor medical emergency. Equipped with 20 exam rooms and the tech to go with it, they're ready to handle colds and testing all the way to x-rays. Open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., fast and friendly with no appointment needed at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m., it's really none of our business. And it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
This report is sponsored by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy for free with DuckDuckGo.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Something that you also need to pay attention to with all your health concerns is the latest medical innovations. That's something that Dr. Sandeep Rao does every Saturday at noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM with his shows, The Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao. He's a board-certified vascular interventionalist and can really both get you the innovations and help you navigate our complex medical system. It's definitely not simple, and he does take questions, and, well, you can submit them every week by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. I sometimes get people calling up during Saturday asking how they can get a question into the doc because he definitely knows his stuff and stays on top of what's going on. So if you want to, rao@medicalhackers.com is the best way to reach him. And then, again, be sure to tune in this and every Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM to The Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, plus all the other social pages that we're on, including Twitch. So everyone there that is tuning in and asking some interesting questions, I'm going to put all of that up on screen here, but you can check it out your own ass. Works as a decent backup here going on. And do have to say one of the guys, Franklin class of 2018, Franklin class of 2007 right here, even if we have some interesting people commenting Coronado as well. So again, if you want to comment, a lot of different ways. We also do have those phone lines open going on, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Also asking for some thoughts on the new Freddy's event in Westtown. Glad they have a good steak burger in town. Not quite I came up with the, what was it called? It'll come to me in a minute, but not quite the ones that I expect here. But to one of the points at hand here, a lot of commentary about the whole marijuana issue. Edgar Ortiz saying, expecting there to be signs refusing service to anyone that smells like it. Says that stuff stinks and the smell annoys me from his perspective. I would expect it's going to be similar to the idea of public intoxication, frankly, because I'm a little bit less worried about people who are high than drunk being on the roads. Not happy about either, but just in like levels of concern, slightly less. And frankly, from the people that I've known that do that kind of activity, not usually ones going out here, though John makes an interesting point about them going to restaurants. I would be surprised if restaurants end up saying, no, we don't want you, because I've never met any fast food that says, no, we dislike stoners here. But other interesting points there about, potentially how it can be handled. And I guess I feel kind of in between drinking and smoking in general when it comes to this issue, that A, it's not really my business if someone decides to, but B, once it starts becoming larger impacts and stuff that can impact the life here, that's when I start getting concerned. But so maybe if there's ways to regulate it, control it, tax it, I know is a big point that ends up becoming behind the legalization. A lot of interesting points abound here, but that's just one of the many things we're talking about here today. So get into some of those calls right now. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Right now we do have Mike on the west side. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for taking my call. I'm going to comment on what Chris was saying earlier about Governor Abbott's anti-vaccine mandate. Like any of his orders with the masks or with the vaccine, what people like him don't understand is that he's not prohibiting anyone from wearing a mask or getting a vaccine.
Absolutely true. Yeah.
He is allowing people to make their choice versus an oppressive government mandates that interfere with people's civil rights against a virus that doesn't even react to those measures. And people need to understand that. If someone wants to get the vaccine, they're welcome to. And they're phrasing all this as it's an anti-vaccine or anti-mask. No, people can wear all the masks they want, take all the vaccines they want. And the other thing people don't realize, there is no FDA-approved vaccine that's commercially available. The only injection is still experimental.
That's not
nobody's talking about that.
Well, that's not technically true anymore. Both Pfizer and Moderna, for their non-boosted ones, have received FDA approval at this point beyond the provisional emergency.
Not available in the United States of America. Only Pfizer has received FDA approval on their Comirnaty labeled vaccine. That's not available. You cannot get that vaccine.
All right, well, I'm going to have to agree to disagree with you on that one, because that's not my understanding of the current situation there. But otherwise, thank you for that point in that call here. I mean, again, it just does seem a little bit of an oxymoron when you're saying that both, you can't even private businesses can't have anything to do with that, and then it's also the best choice here. I guess the messaging is what comes down to me, but again, everything that has been happening pretty much over this last year, including the legislative session and beyond, can be pretty clearly seen, intentionally or not, through what this is going to mean for his reelection chances. So I think this is going into that, which is why, I mean, he says both of those statements at the same time, which, I mean, at the very least doesn't seem very congruent. I will say that here. Let me write Trey with an interesting comment on our discussion about about the whole pot thing. You can't tack something into morality I mean, I don't even have a response to that one. That's pretty experienced here. And one of our Twitch commenters, only experience with drugs was a coworker who vaped onto my Big Mac. Does secondhand eating count anything? So a lot of conversation and commentary going on this. I mean, this is why it's an important subject, because it could have a lot of impact around here. I don't partake myself here. Don't mind people who do, as long as they don't make it my problem, kind of thing is my thinking about it. But there's going to have to be public and official response to it, is where it really comes down to why it's worth discussing here and preparing for it, because again, it's already been rolling out in New Mexico. The retail sales is when I think the rubber is really going to hit the road, and that's coming before too long as well. Just like the elections, just like all this stuff, it's coming. So this is why we talk about it here. All right, trying to get to a couple more calls before we hit that break, but taking them through the end of the hour here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this? Hello, you with us?
Hello?
Yes. Who's this?
This is Sherwood Cake.
Hey there. Did you want to comment on the show here?
Yes.
Sure thing. What's on your mind?
This mandatory vaccine mandate, they take in no consideration of people who've already had COVID. And if you've already had COVID, you'd be a fool to take the vaccine, because the vaccine does have some very serious side effects on some people. For example, the death rate of other, that is not cardiac, not cancer, not COVID, not whatever, of a whole bunch of list of things. When they can't put in any of those categories, they call it other. And that was about 850 or less per month until the end of December 20. And then since that, through either August or sometimes September, that was either 25,000 or something like that. I mean, it just went skyrocketed. That was the people dying from the vaccine. Millions got vaccinated, but that's the story. And then secondly, in South Carolina, they put on a thing that said that 75% of the not fully vaccinated people were the ones who died. But that means that 25% of them were fully vaccinated, and that was only 40% of the population.
I mean, okay, so I guess I take your point as saying that you wouldn't take it, but at the same time, I know multiple people who both got sick from COVID and then got sick multiple times after that. So saying that that is going to provide better immunity and avoid more symptoms here, I mean, yeah, we've seen cases of breakthrough that's been reported on here locally even, but I think that the larger numbers game to look at here is the overall percent. I mean, particularly, there was some real overwrought stuff being put out there about how this was, even getting down to some straight up crazy stuff about this being a depopulation device. And I know we have people who are probably going to be yelling at me in the comments here in a minute, but I mean, that simply hasn't borne out. At the very least, look at our local situation here. I mean, this past week it was reported that there were no breakthrough cases. All the ones that were they are. First week in a while that has happened. We've had one or two, because I think it's a kind of a misnomer about how vaccines work, frankly. The idea that it's a magic shield that provides complete immunity, that's not how any vaccine works. And I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. I mean, if you're more than entitled to your opinion about it if you want to get it or not, but by not going after the real facts of the situation here doesn't help any discussion here. So, I mean, I think that you're right on the first point about not necessarily taking the people who've already been sick into mind here, but I also don't see that as a bulletproof shield either there. So thank you for that point in that call. You know, we're going to go ahead and taking that break right now, but coming back from the break, we'll get into more of these comments and calls here. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso and more comments here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Whatever these public health or otherwise concerns may be going on, it's important to not forget about some of the other ones, including the fact that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month here in October. So that's something that, even though we've had a lot of these overriding concerns, has been pushed to the background, has never gone away. So in order to support that awareness and and identifying of the disease here. Therapeutics and Thermography, Inc. inside Biometrics at 93.5 Sunland Park Drive there, which is just west of Sunland Park and I-10, is offering $50 off all breast thermograms for the month there. Thermography is a technology that can be used as another tool to help track your health and prevent disease or early identification of it. In this case, when it comes to breast cancer, literally using imaging to help reveal things that may not be visible to the naked eye. So if you want to find out more about that, you can give them a call at 915-401-4053. That's 915-401-4053, or visit them online at elpasothermography.com. That's El Paso, THERMOGRAPHY, for elpasothermography.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch out for abnormal congestion on Interstate 110 from the 54 to Juarez Port of Entry. Also, there's some stop-and-go traffic on the 54 southbound between Montana Avenue and the 10. And look out for an accident that could cause some delays on Country Club Road just west of Charlotte Ann Street. And there's a medical emergency on Gateway Boulevard westbound at Geronimo. I'm Marae Jourdain, and that's traffic.
This report is sponsored by SmartMouth, the only 24-hour mouthwash with twice daily use. Opening back up. You check the news, you check with your friends, you check your mask. But wait, did you check your breath? Get SmartMouth, the only mouthwash that provides 24 hours of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day. Find SmartMouth in the mouthwash aisle at Dollar General or get 20% off at smartmouth.com/radio.
What if everything you knew about your best friend was wrong? Like really wrong?
My best friend is an international con artist who scams me and many others out of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
On Queen of the Con, Jonathan Walton tells the shocking story of the phony Irish heiress he helped bring to justice.
She seemed so nice when we first met, but she's the devil.
Listen to Queen of the Con on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts. Brought to you by DuckDuckGo. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo.
Take control of your health and stay on top of the latest medical innovations by tuning in every Saturday at noon to Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, board-certified vascular interventionalist, with healthcare hacks to help you navigate our complex medical system and insights on treatments for common medical problems weekly on News Radio 690 KTSM. Have a question for the doc? Submit them ahead of the show by emailing rao@medicalhackers.com. That's Medical Hackers with Dr. Sandeep Rao, coming this Saturday at noon right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello?
Mike, this is Norma Jean at Sergio Lewis Body Shop near the airport. Have you seen Sergio?
I'm expecting him in a few minutes to cut a new commercial.
I'm really worried about him, Mike. He really believes he's a poet. It's gone to his head.
There's plenty of room up there. Anyways, his poetry isn't that bad.
Will you please have him call the shop?
Sure, Norma.
That's Norma Jean, Mike. Gotta go.
Yee, she's feisty. Hey, Sergio, there you are.
Hey, Mike, I have this great new poem. Check this out, man. Sometimes even our darkest moments are enlightening. Hey, what's so funny, man?
Nothing, Sergio, really. By the way, Norma Jean called.
Really? What did she want?
Oh, she was just telling me what a big fan she is of your poetry, Sergio. Sergio Lewis Body Shop at 3800 Admiral near the airport, where it's the customer's choice, not the insurance company's, and there's a lifetime warranty on all collision repair. 593-0191.
Your life, your hopes, and whatever you were searching for at 1:15 a.m. It's really none of our business, and it shouldn't be anyone else's. Protect your privacy online for free with DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of ways you can interact with the show. Of course, we got the Facebook page and the online stuff, facebook.com/Talk El Paso being the main one, but also, again, over on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all that good stuff. Because being in a lot of places, getting the most conversations going on here, that's kind of the ideal. And why we do that, we also got the phone line here. Get into as many calls as we can here in this last segment here, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And we got the pound 251. Do not forget about that. Pound 250, keyword Talk El Paso. We got a little bit of rehashment of some of the arguments that we got going on about the vaccine and mandates for it. I feel like we're going a little bit in circles here. So, I mean, situations have been what they are, and I just got to say, when it comes to it, we're talking about the local situation here. We're at that herd immunity level. We're looking at that, nearly 80% of people being vaccinated, including some people getting boosted now, members of my own family and such. So the situation we're seeing here has been there's a direct correlation I think you can draw between that. So other places, other situations vary, but I've been very happy with where we are locally anyway, and that's definitely something we like to talk about here. All right, trying to get to at least a couple more calls in line here right now. We do have Marco over in Central there. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, real quick. I think the problem here is we look at Governor Abbott and we say, well, how can he deny the mandate of the mandate? Well, we have to understand that we live in a federalist country. We're a republic. We're not a democracy. We have representative union. So when he's going out there and saying, hey, the federal government is overreaching, I have plenary power in my state. No, you're not going to do the mandate. And if you don't like it, go to court. What's wrong with that?
I mean, you're not technically wrong there, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And
exactly. So why is he the bad guy here? He's not the bad guy. Secondly, real quick, there's a problem here. Everybody that's against the vaccine is a conspiracy theorist. So Sean Hannity, who's on this channel, correct?
Correct.
Before you had Robert Malone a couple of weeks ago, and he explained exactly what your last guest just said. And at the end of his response to you, you said he was a conspiracy theorist.
I don't believe I said that there. I'm saying that there may be a lot of conspiracies going on around about this.
If people have a difference of opinion because they don't feel like taking spike gene therapy, because it's not a vaccine. It's not. Robert Malone, the man who created it, who had an hour on Sean Hannity's show, literally said, this is not a vaccine. Vaccines are made in eggs. This is a protein therapy that they're injecting into your body. Well, and all of a sudden, we're a conspiracy theorist.
Okay,
this is coming from the doctor.
I understand what you're saying, but I don't think you're listening. I think you're hearing what you want to there, because I'm not calling anyone a conspiracy theorist when it comes to not wanting to take the vaccine. This is absolutely a choice that you have to make. I've said that all along. But if you're feeling that anyone's saying that maybe there are reasons people would want to take it is then calling you a vaccine therapist, I don't know what to tell you, my dude, because there are plenty of people in this town here who have made that decision. You're calling them all conspiracy theorists too? That's just not how this works. What I'm saying here is that we're going in a bit in circles about arguments about these kind of things here. And yeah, there's a whole lot of discussion about the whole mRNA process. And no, not all vaccines are made out of eggs these days. That's not accurate either. I am not a doctor. I'm not an immunologist. But at the same time, it's possible to read and try to understand some of this information. So if you're really going to be out here saying that anyone who disagrees with you is calling you a conspiracy theorist, I think you need to take a step back, calm down, and think about this and come back and have that discussion with me. Otherwise, thank you for the point in the call there. This is important stuff to discuss here, but once we start, name calling other sides of it, we're not really having a discussion anymore here, are we? But we did miss that £1.250 call here. Going to get to one here because you can leave it that way as well. Again, £250 keyword Talk El Paso. Dial that, say that keyword. You can leave a message of your own, but along these lines.
This is Messiah Frankie. I just heard your interview with that Texas guy, Crankshank. And this cancel culture stuff. I'm all for cancel culture. You need to, everybody that's normal, needs to cancel all the idiots in the United States, including the world. And you want to start with all the idiots and cancel them, the ones that were on January the 6th, Ozos. And then just most recently, those ones in Des Moines, Iowa. Yes, I know how it's pronounced. That were at that rally thing. Then you cancel those people. I'm all for cancel culture, so I don't know what he's talking about. And, I just know his buddy is that other dork guy in Texas. What's his name? Bud Crunch, the guy that goes to Cancun when everybody else is dying and freezing to death. What a bunch of bozos. Cancel them all.
And among statements we disagree with there, you can leave your own statement here, £250, keyword Talk El Paso, if you so decide to. All right, trying to get to at least one more call here before the end of the hour. Right now we do have Jeff on the west side. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. On the vaccine, this is an area I've been researching, and I have some, I don't have medical expertise. I have some legal expertise. Sure. And the fact is, if you go to the FDA website, you'll see 2 letters that were issued by the FDA on August 23rd of this year, one to Pfizer, one to BioNTech. The BioNTech letter purports to be an FDA approval of their vaccine. The Pfizer letter does not approve their vaccine. It only extends the emergency use authorization, which is the very limited approval. The BioNTech approval, however, seems to be an approval, but there's one problem with it. It's conditioned upon them satisfying all of the FDA's requirements for packaging inserts and packaging labels, which conditions haven't been satisfied, which means your earlier caller was right. There's no FDA-approved vaccine on the marketplace. And anybody can go read those letters, make their own decision. FDA website, August 23rd, 2021. And I'll just leave it with this. It's very odd that they would do it this way. It seems to be less than straightforward. I'll let it go at that.
Okay, fair enough. I appreciate that clarification on it there. It's been brought up previously. I haven't looked at it personally myself. But I will say this, that there has been plenty being moving forward with it, including what the military is doing and other authorities, including the federal government, based on the concept of it being an FDA approved here. So I will agree. There may be some interesting inconsistencies here, but really when it comes in to the rubber hitting the road, that's the situation we're looking at there. So thank you for that point and that call here. Leroy Chuck saying he's canceling himself after today here. Again, that's why we don't do that on the show, and we take all the calls and the commentary that we get here. So thank you everyone who did call in, comment, be a part of the show. We're out of time here for today, but we'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. We also have a shout out to Enrique for being a good cousin here. Anyway, a lot of stuff we'll more talk about the rest of this week. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. Talk to y'all tomorrow, 4 to 5 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. But twice for motorcycles. Have a great night, y'all. See y'all later. Time for another Medicare Moment with Eric with Advocate Health Advisors. Can veterans enroll anytime throughout the year to get into these options we've talked about?
Under certain circumstances, yes, they can. A veteran may change their Medicare plan anytime throughout the year. This may also apply to a veteran's spouse. What we do is we receive many hours of training on exactly how to use the special enrollment period to make this available to veterans and their spouses if available.
So for more info on those details and much more, call Eric, your local advisor, wherever you're hearing this broadcast at 1-800-876-0214. That's 1-800-876-0214.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
There's a stalled vehicle that has the right lane closed on Americas Avenue before Alameda. Also, watch out for construction on Gateway Boulevard westbound between Reynolds Street and Piedras. And 2 lanes are closed on Mesa Street northbound after University and before Baltimore Drive. And the on-ramp is closed on the Loop 375 southbound and North Loop Drive. I'm Marie Jourdain, and that's traffic.
Hey folks, this is Andrew J. Polk. These days, it's important to know where to go to get quality medical care and services when you need it. The go-to for my family is Dr. Alan Carpenter and his team at Upper Valley Urgent Care Center for any minor medical emergency. Equipped with 20 exam rooms and the tech to go with it, they're ready to handle colds and testing all the way to x-rays. Open 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., fast and friendly with no appointment needed at 121 East Red Road. Celebrating their 15th anniversary this fall, Upper Valley Urgent Care Center. Are you Medicare eligible? Do you have questions about your benefits and how they can work? Advocate Health Advisors can help you understand all the benefits you qualify for, including dental, vision, hearing, and transportation, just to name a few. They can provide you with a no-cost, no-obligation review. To get more information